Obviously, we'll be back live this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. And if the radiation starts intensifying as more of the fallout approaches the United States, you look for notes at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I may do some internet, video, audio streams just at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com over the weekend. Stations that want to pick those up, it won't be on the satellite, but you'll be able to pick up the audio stream or reports that we do for our affiliates out there. Continued here with the news. Libya's Gaddafi is under threat from allied military forces. Libya's Muammar Gaddafi is now under threat from a growing force of advanced Western aircraft and missiles intended to reverse the balance of power in the North African conflict. So this is a direct overthrow. Nothing to do with humanitarian issues. The globalists could care less. They rather dictators that they control and power. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization members, Britain, France, Denmark, Spain, and Canada, along with the U.S., had pledged plans and planes to a mission over Libya, according to government statements and press reports, and they're moving amphibious invasion ships in. And Qatar said it would participate in the plan. The U.S. is deploying the Tornado, a BAE Systems Eurofighter Typhoon jets. French Foreign Minister Alain Juppé commented on military action, told reporters in Paris, "We are ready, but I can't provide a precise timetable." So this is really another war. Reuters reporting U.S. heads towards risky Libya engagement. The United States moved towards potentially deep and risky engagement in Libya's bloody political crisis. Friday, vowing to remove defiant leader Muammar Gaddafi and halt violence against embattled rebels. We don't know what the final outcome will be. The first and overwhelmingly urgent action is to end the violence. Oh, they care so much about that. Remember, they've lied about him going to Venezuela. They lied about him fleeing to Zimbabwe. They lied about him strafing people. That was later confirmed. He strafed rebels. I'm not saying that's good. I don't like Gaddafi. The point is it's all hypocritical lies we're being given. Bob Chapman, Libya's declared a ceasefire, saying, okay, rebels, don't shoot at us. We won't shoot at you. And then Obama's come out and said, doesn't matter now. You accept a, quote, peaceful takeover and invasion on humanitarian grounds, or we're going to blow the daylights out of you. Bob Chapman.
And that's exactly what's going on. And I think they, as I said several weeks ago, the people who started all this going, the CIA, MI6, and the Mossad, I think they made a big mistake. They made some of the changes they wanted, but they've had to use violence in Libya and also in Bahrain to a great extent. I saw movies yesterday of military people shooting civilians out of hand. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, just murder, assassination.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is shooting people. Bahrain is shooting people. But when they do, it's loving and good and caring. Okay.
Well, I think this is going to continue, and not in a way that they like. And they're going to have more problems along the way. And people who are investors throughout the world now think that things are going to get better in Japan as well as the Middle East. And that certainly isn't the case.
Bob.
And you...
Oh, go ahead.
Yes?
No, your phone's just breaking up. Clinton says UN resolution on Libya, only one step. And they're saying we are going to be not responsive or impressed by words. We would have to see actions on the ground, and that is not yet at all clear, Clinton said to reporters at a meeting with Ireland's deputy prime minister. We will continue to work with our partners in the international community to press Gaddafi to leave and to support the legitimate aspirations of the Libyan people, she said. So what this says is when rebels that are openly financed by the West try to overthrow countries, if they're not successful, the NATO/U.S. forces are going to invade. That will spur other rebel groups to start new wars. Is this not a global destabilization program, and why?
And now that you mention it, the answer is yes. Why? To divert attention away from a financial system that's collapsing. And the only way it can be kept afloat is by quantitative easing, stimulus from governments. And it's not just the United States, it's a number of nations, particularly Europe and England. And if they stop that assistance, the whole thing's going to collapse. So they want to take that out of the news. And I explained this several weeks ago when this started, that I thought it was a disinformation move along with other things in the Middle East. And now, of course, Japan's popped up. But you would think that people in the markets would not be buyers, they'd be sellers. Yes, there was some selling. The Dow went down about 500 points, but it's going right back up again.
All right, Bob.
Because obviously they've got information that we don't have.
Bob, you're here every Friday with us in the last hour, but your phone, again, we've tried 3 times, is so bad today, and we're going to end this interview in a moment, but I wanted to finish up with one of the issues that you've been writing about for close to 50 years, and that is the private Federal Reserve manipulating the currency market, something they've always denied. But now here's the AP today. New York Fed confirms intervention in currency markets. They're doing more than that. The stock market, as you know, with the plunge protection team. The New York Federal Reserve confirmed that it intervened in currency markets today for the first time in more than a decade. The disclosure came a day after the group of 7 major industrial nations pledged in a statement to join in a coordinated effort to weaken the Japanese yen. The yen has surged in the past week to post-war record levels following the Japanese earthquake and tsunami. We also see an acceleration of the Fed monetizing debt. We also see some of the biggest brokerage firms in the world saying they're no longer going to buy dollars or T-bills. Briefly, tell us what this signifies and where you see gold and silver going.
Well, first of all, we have the Japanese, prior to the end of the month, evening up their books, and that causes the yen to go higher as they sell foreign securities or of some kind, or foreign currencies, to bring the money home for their balance sheets. And this has happened at the worst possible time. There are a number of people are in the yen carry trade. I can't go into that because we don't have time and it's too intricate. But what it means is the people who have borrowed yen to go out and buy other things with the yen converted into, say, dollars or pounds or whatever, they're getting their heads handed to them. And that's one of the reasons they want to stabilize it. Who is they? Usually the banks, hedge funds, etc. They're very highly leveraged, and that's one of the ways they do it. So that's why the G7 really did what they did, to say the people who had been speculating and using the yen as a basis to do that. What's going to happen to gold and silver? And over again, Alex, these chartists and waivers and cyclists have been telling us for 5 years that the markets in gold and silver are going to correct from here to there, et cetera, et cetera. And it never happens. What's happened is all of these things coming together, especially with the Federal Reserve, are going to create much more inflation. We saw the numbers that came out yesterday. Devastating. Will be 14% easy by the end of the year in inflation, and they know that. And that's why gold and silver are getting an extra push upward, because they react in a positive manner to currencies being degraded, the dollar in this case, among others. So what's going to happen is gold and silver are going to move strongly upward, which is an opposition to what 96% of newsletter writers are saying, because they're using charts, etc., to make their decisions. And you can't do that because the government is rigging the market through the plunge protection team,
and what
working group on financial markets.
And what this shows is that it's a rigged casino. Folks, theinternationalforecaster.com, you can call 800-686-2237 and get a free complimentary copy of it, or when you buy 1 gold franc, you get a $159 yearly free subscription with it. That is a giant value, and the franc is already very competitively priced. Give Midas Resources a call, 800-686-2237. Bob Chapman, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Bob. We usually have him for the full hour, but his phone, as you could hear, was just completely hammered, and We can't put that out on air too long. We tried 3 times to get him to call back with a better connection, but it didn't work. He's like in South America. Let's go ahead and go to your phone calls. Will, Jennifer, Sean, Mike, I'm going to get to you. But first, David in Japan. Sir, how are you holding up there?
Well, things are going okay. Well, to be honest, when I listen to your Sunday show and looking at the other information as well, myself and my wife decided to leave where we were. We were in Kansai, but we went to Okinawa, which is the southernmost island. But just seeing the news, there's some more information that hasn't really come out in the Western media that I wanted to mention. Particularly on Monday in the news, it was reported that the Prime Minister Khan was overheard arguing with the. This actually came out on the television. He was overheard arguing with the Tokyo Electric Company persons, and at first the Tokyo Electric employees were going to completely abandon the plant and not take any action whatsoever because of the radioactivity levels. And then Khan was heard shouting at them, saying, "We could lose Western Japan if you don't do something." And Eastern Japan. He said, "We could lose Eastern Japan if you don't."
Well, that's
do
what my
anything."
dad said. I mean, there are many areas of Ukraine that are uninhabitable. This could take a large area of northeastern Japan and make it uninhabitable. And if they completely melt down, it could completely radiate Tokyo with 37 million people. And now the head of the plant has broken down and cried and admitted basically a cover-up and said it is highly radioactive enough to kill people, and broke down crying. How are the Japanese responding to that?
Well, you see, it's the way it's been covered in the media here. It's difficult to understand because the awareness of nuclear energy and the how dangerous it is probably higher abroad. In Japan, in the media here, they're giving out a lot of technical information, but I think most of the ordinary people really don't understand the implications of what they're being told. They're just they're giving the technical information, but they're still saying it's not a permanent problem for human health, or this could be terrible, but then they don't say exactly what it is. So the Japanese people, I think, are more focused on the comprehensible human aspects of the tragedy, which are still the deaths due to the tsunami and the difficulty of the how the people are trying to survive in the relocation areas that have been evacuated. You know, they're focusing on the difficulty of their life in terms of they don't have food, or the more ordinary human problems.
What is the press reporting the radiation levels are there?
Well, it varies. The information they're giving out is different, but they just on the news just a short while ago, they said that the Tokyo Electric decided that it was acceptable for their employees to be exposed to 250 millisieverts while working, which is basically a change in Japanese regulation or law. So that's a pretty big thing.
Well, we've got to pray for those valiant souls, the Fukushima 50, that rotate in groups of about 188 people in groups of 50 rotating in, because they are pointing out that this radiation can kill the people there. Are the Japanese concerned about the news, or is it being played big in your press? It's in the U.S. press that the meteorologists are predicting in the next 48 hours the wind is going to turn towards the south again?
They mentioned it briefly, but they haven't really mentioned the implications of what that means.
Yeah.
People are there. I mean, I think there's a bit of a rift in society and how people are reacting, because I look on the internet and young people who are more news savvy are like sending messages to each other on the message board saying, "I've already run away. I'm in Western Japan. I've gone to this prefecture and stuff." But the older generation who would just get their news from television or whatever are slightly. They're not really aware of what really is happening.
Yeah, they're in that television-induced trance. David, anything else you'd like to add from Japan?
Well, just on some of the larger trends that were happening before this disaster happened. This disaster, I think, is just, it's totally it's completely changed Japan's future and the path they're on, because this is my own observation. But in the Japanese media before this disaster, there was a lot of media pointing towards like a new national fervor. There was television dramas.
Yeah, new optimism was back, and you're saying after the decade-long recession, you're saying this may knock that on the head.